this video, what we're going to talk about today, guys, is the priority of importance when it comes to setting up our nutrition plan from the point of, weight maintenance, weight loss, or muscle building, weight gain, okay? Now, the best way to sort of think of this is in the concept of like a pyramid, okay? Now, the number one priority or the biggest overall governing factor and something we have to make sure we're doing is we're adhering to whatever the program is. Again, if we're doing random stuff each day or every week is different, we're never going to know what's actually working, and it's not going to lead to us getting the result that we're after. So the big one is adherence, and that really comes down to being consistent over time, so then we can actually make educated decisions around how we change things if we do need to change things. So if we're looking at that three-dimensional pyramid, you can kind of say that one whole side of the pyramid there is adherence. That sort of governs everything. But if we then take that pyramid and lay it out like a traditional food pyramid that you may have thought of, I'm going to lay it out slightly differently, but this is going to hopefully make a bit more sense to you. So on that base of the pyramid, the biggest piece of the pie, that's calorie balance, okay? So that's how much food we're actually taking in each day towards our goals. Now, we can think of this in a few different ways. So depending on our goal, whether it's weight loss, maintaining our body weight, or gaining weight, that's going to dictate where we set that level of calories. So if we're looking to gain weight, we're going to be looking at creating a hypercaloric diet. So that means more calories than our body actually needs each day. So there's going to be that excess there to help with building more lean body mass. A eucaloric diet, so that's also known as an isocaloric diet. So that's going to be at maintenance level. So we're looking to maintain body weight and have you eating the optimum amount or as much as possible without actually gaining any physical weight. And ideally, this is where we're going to sort of sit if we're looking for that recomposition effect. So looking to, sort of gain some lean body mass but lose some body fat without really changing weight. Often this is what we're aiming for when we first set up a diet, because we want to find out essentially how much you can actually consume to have high levels of energy, good cognitive function, good hormone balance, good performance and things like that, without, having any of the negative repercussions of losing weight. So that's our isocaloric. And then we have our hypocaloric diet, which is our third piece, which is going to be the one where we're looking at if we're trying to lose some mass. So if we're trying to lose some body weight, that's where we're looking for a hypocaloric diet. Okay, so that's number one. That's our biggest priority. So determining the goal, so whether it's gain, lose, or maintain body weight, and then setting that calorie amount to that goal. Obviously, again, always abiding by our rules of adherence and maintaining whatever plan we're doing and being consistent with it, okay? Now, the next step up on the pyramid, number two, this is where we're looking at macronutrients. So this is where we're looking at our proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, and making sure that we're actually hitting appropriate amounts of those each day or each week at least, okay? So this is where we take that total amount of calories with whatever the goal is, and we split that up into three. So we divide that into either a percentage or a set number to equal the total amount of calories that we're going to be consuming with our proteins, our fats, and our carbohydrates. And the ratios that we use of those can all really play a large difference on the results that we get, okay? Now, not as much as the calorie balance number. So again, not as much as what calories will do in terms of dictating how that body is going to change, but it's the second most important priority. Okay, so we're now stepping up to level 3 on the pyramid. Now this is timing. This is where we start to divide up your week or your day, predominantly day when we're looking at this sort of stuff. And we're going to be looking at, okay, cool, well, in an ideal situation, how many meals we're going to be eating, and are we getting even amounts of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats in those meals? Or if we're training really, really hard, maybe we're going to bias more of the carbohydrates towards around those training windows, things like that. Or, if we're a smaller female and we don't actually have a ton of carbohydrates to play with potentially, they might actually aid in, some serotonin production and helping you to feel rested and ready to go to bed in the evening. So we might be shifting those carbohydrates more towards the evenings. So this is where we're really looking at, splitting up the timing and figuring out what's going to suit you best depending on your lifestyle, other environmental factors, training, these sorts of things. Okay, cool. And then the next piece is we're looking at the composition of those calories. So then now this is where we're getting into the whole organic versus non-organic meat. This is where we're looking at, organic, non-GMO vegetables versus normal vegetables. And we're starting to look now at micronutrients, different ratios, things like that. So making sure that we're getting an appropriate amount of, certain minerals, certain vitamins, cofactors, these sorts of things throughout the day, making sure we're getting that right ratio and balance. So this also may be where we're looking at things like, the protein choices that we're making. Are they very fast digesting proteins, which aren't actually going to keep you feeling very full, or are they going to be long digesting and slow digesting proteins, which are going to help, keep you feeling satiated for many, many hours. But again, if you're looking to train quite quickly after that, that might not be optimal. So again, this is where we're really looking at that full composition and overall picture of the food choices that we're making. Again, this is quite important, but it's nowhere near as important as, again, looking at the timing, looking at the macros, and then looking at the overall caloric balance of our diet. If we're not nailing those other things, the sort of timing and frequency doesn't really matter that much, okay? So it's really about nailing those big pieces, and then, as we work through that pyramid and we're smashing things out, then we can start to get more and more detailed again, depending on the goals that we've got. The last piece of the pyramid there at the top of the food chain, that's your supplementation and things like that. Even some of the hydration stuff, although if you're not getting enough water in, this is going to, all of this is going to be affected by that. But then if we're talking about, super hot days or, peri-workout nutrition, where we're looking at, having calories during our workouts and things like that, this is also where we're going to be looking at, adding in certain vitamins or minerals to make up for deficiencies that we may be getting from a lack of foods that we're consuming and stuff like that, okay? So again, in order of that priority on our pyramid, the biggest governing factor that oversees everything is that adherence piece or consistency. Then biggest piece of the pie is our calorie balance. So again, whether we're in a hypo, or eucaloric diet. Then we have our macronutrient ratios. So making sure we're setting those up optimally for the results that we're after. Then we have our timing. So again, looking at how we're actually splitting up our day and our week, making sure we're optimizing our ratios of calories coming in at the right time to best suit our schedule and our environment. Number 4, we're looking at micronutrients, things like that. So we're really kind of looking at the composition of the foods that we're actually consuming and whether or not we're creating any deficiencies or problems with that. And then last one, number 5, the top of the pyramid. Again, this is that nitty-gritty stuff around extra hydration techniques, or when we're looking at adding in some supplementation, things like that. I'll do another video on supplements, but cool. If you have any questions, please reach out. Otherwise, nice.